Good evening. Welcome to RFD-TV Live. I'm News Director Mark Oppold. Tonight it's AGROTAIN Live, and with me in studio tonight to share the latest information research, Dr. Dennis Hancock, Assistant Professor at the University of Georgia, and from AGROTAIN International, Jimmy Johnson, Director of U.S. Sales. Gentlemen, welcome to RFD-TV.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Good to have you here. And viewers, you will recall that last month, AGROTAIN Live was broadcast from the Ag Connect Expo in Atlanta. On that panel, it was Dr. Fred Below. He's professor of plant physiology at the University of Illinois, and his very popular 7 Wonders of the Corn Yield World. Now, we can't show all of Dr. Below's presentation here, but certainly sets the stage for tonight's show. So we begin with this short recap from Dr. Below.
Area. I'm Fred Below. I'm a crop physiologist with the University of Illinois. We're on the Urbana campus here, where I'm talking about some of our research designed to identify a formula for growing 300 bushel corn. And to devise that formula, we wanted to know what was the relative impact of various management practices that individually impacted crop yield. And that's where the 7 Wonders of the Corn Yield World come in. I, myself, have seen 300 bushels 25 years ago when Herman Warsaw grew what was then the record yield. He did it largely through crop management. So I've tried ever since. Haven't seen 300 bushels since then, but I've learned a lot about crop yield and about factors that affect crop yield. And that led to the concept of the 7 Wonders of the Corn Yield World. How did we come up with the 7 Wonders? The 7 Wonders really represents a sort of mini meta-analysis of a career's worth of research. After working on high yield for 25 years, I finally realized that almost all of our studies and almost all of the factors that affect crop yield fall into one of these categories. Certainly 7 sounds like a fancy number, but it's more based on the magnitude of the yield difference. If you look at the 7th wonder, it's worth 10 bushels, and very difficult to demonstrate scientifically a factor that's less than 10 bushels. So I struggle with what the 8th wonder is, but the 8th wonder clearly has a value less than 10 bushels, which is going to be hard to quantify when we're growing 300. So I'm sure there are other factors that are important in crop yield, but these are the top 7 that I can demonstrate scientifically. The number 1 factor that affects crop yield is one everybody's aware of. They have the least control over. It's the weather. Planting date is determined by the weather. If I have my weather dream, I'd take rain July. I saw a lot of hot temperatures in August that were weather events, and I suppose a hailstorm is a catastrophic weather event as well. So weather is the number 1 factor, either making you look like a good farmer or spoiling all your best management. Well, weather is by far the number 1 factor that affects crop yield. So the not being able to control the weather from a research standpoint, it means I have to do it in many different years in many different locations so that our research relates to very different weather conditions. What we're looking at here is our attempt to control the weather. These are heat tents. We sat this over at 20 foot a row, and we're increasing the temperature here 14 degrees Fahrenheit over normal during the daytime, and it allows us to study the potential impacts of high temperature on plant growth and yield. And anybody will tell you in 2010 in a lot of the Corn Belt, high temperature was a big factor in negatively impacting crop yield. This is an excellent example of a nitrogen-weather interaction where too much weather in the form of excess spring rainfall has resulted in nitrogen loss, which has impacted the growth and ultimately the yield of the crop. And you can see this by the poor color and short size, and worse yet, the small size of ear of the plant. Number 2, my personal favorite, worked most of my career on it, is nitrogen. Has almost the same value, a 70 bushel value if used exactly correctly, almost the same value as weather. So weather and nitrogen combined account for more than half the crop yield. Now here's a little nuance to the 7 wonder concept. These wonders interact with each other, and as a rough rule, the higher you are on the wonder list, the more control you exert over those wonders below you. And every single thing about the use of nitrogen is influenced by the weather. Not only the ability to apply it, but whether the N's have lost or available and how well the crop can use it. And there are numerous examples of weather-nitrogen interaction. Here you can see an example of where the nitrogen wasn't lost by weather. In this case, it was prevented from loss with an application of soup ear on each of these plants. So now, by preventing that loss of nitrogen from too much rainfall, we actually can realize the benefit of that nitrogen application in a higher yield. So we're looking at.
That's Dr. Fred Below. You can see all of his video by going to increasedyields.com. Again, we just show you the top 2, and he, of course, has 5 more. We are